For the listeners out there, do you mind just telling us a little bit about yourself?
I'm Junaid Malik. I'm from West London. I've been making music for a good decade, I think, and yeah, I'm just in love with the art. I feel like the best way to connect to people is through art, and I'm just lucky. I'm one of those lucky people that have that chance to exhibit it to the world.
So I read a bit, I was looking on like your Spotify bio thing, and it said that you spent 7 years traveling around the world before coming back and like going back into music. So do you mind just telling me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I had a strong spiritual phase. I went hiking a lot around the world in Switzerland, even like local places, like let's say Snowdonia or Lake District, wherever I could get to. But yeah, those experiences have stayed with me. It's empowered me into carrying on my journey and understanding again the connection between what art is and like what it means to express yourself on a spiritual level rather than just write music on just a vibe or a pop level.
For sure, yeah. So would you say that that's something that has stuck with you to this day then that you continue to put into your music, like thinking about more than just notes or lyrics on a piece of paper, it's about putting how you're feeling on a spiritual level into the art as well.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I remember before this hiatus that I had, I would try and write a song. Now it just flows out. Whatever I'm feeling at that point, I just put onto paper, and record it as fast as I can. So it is a lot more about just understanding the emotional state of a person and opening up on that level.
You've done like pretty well for yourself, obviously. I think like since 2018 sort of time, um, churning out song after song, and then obviously 2020 you were able to be one of BBC's Future Sounds artists, which I suppose was sort of like a bit of a what's it called, a milestone for you in a sense. So, what was it like? Obviously, it's mad thinking that's 2 years ago now, but what was it like being able to be a Future Sounds artist, and what's your journey been like since then as well?
Yeah, I mean, being a feature sounds artist was a huge honor. I mean, to be praised by your peers and colleagues like that, and a big firm like BBC backing you in the sense that they're expecting big things out of you, it was an amazing feeling. I mean, but since then, obviously, we had the pandemic and whatnot come across. So it allowed me to just regroup myself. I don't know how much it would have benefited my career to actually have done that. But, life gave me lemons. I made lemonade out of it. And I think I'm in a pretty good place to just carry on and, really stamp my mark on our industry, the British Asian market, because that market is the most dearest to me. I think there's not enough representation for us. And if there is, it's all coming from like one little place in the UK rather than, someone experiencing what the whole of the British Asian community is actually experiencing.
So would you say that when you're making music, not necessarily that you're thinking, oh, I want to make this so it fits into the British Asian genre, but would you say that that is your main target audience, or are you more aiming towards everyone and anyone?
I think it's more just about the culture that I am. I come from Southall, the hub of, this is. So, yeah, growing up in the schools that we went to, being educated and all the Western portrayal that's been, like in front of us all our lives. I think the most organic thing I can do is just fall into the British Asian side of things. Don't get me wrong, I have done like pop music, as in full on English music, but the peace that I felt inside when I was able to just, sing in my own language or reflect on what I was feeling in my own language, in the language that, we speak at home. Yeah, it was just a different feeling. So I think that's where I like to be, and that's where I'll be for the rest of the time I have with music.
Sweet. So that probably brings us on to the main topic of discussion here, which is your latest single, Pyar Tenu Karan, which you released, I think, last week, wasn't it? Like Friday or Saturday?
The 14th of May, yeah.
Sweet. And that obviously has the sort of bilingual element to it. and it's been described as an anthem for lovers, which I was very intrigued by. But yeah, it has this. You've got like that full on like you go on like full falsetto in it. It's a bit like R&B trap sort of vibes to it. Do you want to tell us a bit like what it means to you and why you chose to go with that as your next release?
This is one of those songs that I've had stored on my computer for quite a while. And obviously, again, during the pandemic, I wasn't able to get it out. But it was one of those songs that, yeah, it was quite sensual, it was quite intimate. And I never thought that, like, growing up, a British Asian artist has ever, dropped something like that. The closest thing that we had to that was probably Ride It by Jay Sean, but nothing that we could relate to within our own culture. So I think that's what the song is about more than what I'd like to say. It's again, it's a quite a deep, intimate song.
So would you say it's based on personal experiences or more like hypothetical?
Yeah, I mean, it is based on personal experiences. One thing I didn't mention is that 99% of the love songs that I write is to music. Like for me, music is my love. So like yeah, like when I'm imagining things, it's just about the way like music's making me feel.
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting way of thinking about it actually, because I always think like so many songs are about love and romance and how it's weird how like like so much doesn't kind of go out of that sort of um pool of ideas. But when you think about it like that and about how love doesn't necessarily need to be like describing a relationship between people, like yeah, that is a really cool way of thinking about it actually, definitely. And I can imagine that probably helps a lot with the creative process because you always have relationship with music, right?
I mean, again, music doesn't cause you any harm or problems, like as normal relationships would. So when it comes into this, it's like no strings attached, it's just full on love. And I mean, if you look back at my previous release from, I think it was February, the song's called Masala, and that was a real spiritual element as well. It was more based on my relationship with the creator, and just expressing that regardless of all the pain that life could cause, as long as you're there, I'm all good and I'm all like following the way that you set out for me.
Speaking a bit on Ben Masal as well, like you said, obviously that was a bit more of a spiritual release. You've done the pop stuff in the past. This one is sort of like a fusion love song, I'd probably say.
Yeah.
Would you say that any one of those three or other genres that you've done is your main genre focus, or would you say that you kind of enjoy being able to dip in and out of genres however you're feeling?
Versatility is something that I thrive on, like that is my main component, my key component in creating. I don't want to, like, there's a lot of music out there that's just like, doop, 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 and it's like, cool guys, you lot carry on doing that. I'll try and explore something. You never know what kind of sound that you can create that would inspire the next, artists that are going to come along in the 5-6 years or 10-15 years. So again, I'm trying to break that mold of having one mainstream kind of vibe out there where everyone just ends up copying each other. I want to improve the quality of like the sound that we're making as British Asian people. We've got a really big responsibility out here, like to some extent, Bollywood music does look over here, Pakistani music does look over here to what we're doing. And you don't have to look so far back, like when the Bhangra scene was huge in the 2000s and 90s, there was so much reference, like in the Bollywood movies. I mean, you look back, RDB were killing it like 5-6 years ago in Bollywood. So, there's a big responsibility for all of us who make music in the UK to really grab the market and, shake things up, show the world what it actually means to express yourself.
Yeah, no, that is a really like good way of looking at it as well, because I think a lot of the time we sort of look over and maybe artists in the East, in the subcontinent, or Canadian or American artists, and they obviously, because the country is there are so much bigger, we sort of maybe think, oh, we're supposed to look up to them. But actually, like you said, like the fact of the matter is, a lot of the time they're still looking back to here to see what are the British Asian artists still doing. So yeah, it is really cool to sort of make your craft whilst thinking you never know what's going to influence the next sort of generation, sort of thing. Definitely.
100%. Yeah, man.
Probably rounding things off now, what's next for you in 2022 and beyond?
Yeah, well, I've got a number of projects. I've got a project lined up in the Caribbean. I've got a producer from France who I'm like working with right now, and I think by the end of this year I should have at least 5 more songs out, including, well, excluding covers. I'll be doing covers all year, just to keep people interested in some sense, I guess. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot more music to come out. Honestly speaking, I think the next release that I have is probably one of the most favorite songs that I could have ever written, and I can't actually wait to share it with the world because, again, like speaking about versatility, I think that's the next step.
There's anything you can tell us about this release as to why you like it so much?
It's more retro, like let's say is a bit more like futuristic retro pop kind of sound that I've been trying to create for quite a while. But yeah, I've found the right people to make that kind of music with, so it should be coming out soon.